49ers fans who watch this show from all across the globe, you should be fired up about this football team right now. Coming up on today's show, a lot of positive developments for the Niners and a lot of good news to get into for San Francisco going into the bye week. And it all starts right now. Let's go. We're off and running. It's a Victory Monday here on the San Francisco 49ers Report. If you're pumped up about the Niners being 9-4 on the year going into the bye week, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. I want at least 1,000 likes on today's show. And also, support the show, subscribe to the channel. We're 636 people away from 182,000 subscribers. What a blast it has been to be able to grow this program. And what you get when you lock us in, elite daily and free Niners shows coming your way every single day year round. All right, 5 topics that I want to get into here on the show. So kick back, relax, and let's talk some Niners football because that's what we do here on this show. What a stretch run this will be for the 49ers. 9-4 after their convincing win over the Cleveland Browns, a late bye week coming up this week in week 14. And look at the Niners' remaining schedule. They have a cupcake game coming out of the bye week against the Tennessee Titans. And then this stretch is going to be a lot of fun, and this stretch could determine the Niners' playoff fate. They will be on the road to play the Indianapolis Colts on Monday Night Football. The Colts kind of reeling right now, but that's going to be a huge game. Week 17 at home against the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. Chicago has the number 1 seed in the NFC. That will have a lot of playoff implications. Then the Niners could have an opportunity to get a really good seed or perhaps win the division in Week 18 against Seattle, against the Seahawks at Levi's Stadium. I cannot wait. Topic number 2, the number 1 seed for the Niners, it is alive. Ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat. The number 1 seed for the 49ers in the NFC is completely alive. And how about this? The Niners have a better chance at the top seed in the conference than they do of missing the playoffs with their 9-4 record. Now, right now, it is the Bears with that number 1 spot in the NFC. Their remaining schedule, very difficult. On the road against the Packers, they play the Browns, then they play the Packers again for the second time in 3 weeks. Then the Bears will be on the road to play the Niners, as I mentioned, and then they round out with the Detroit Lions. You could easily see a scenario here where the Bears lose a couple of these games in the final 5 weeks. The Rams, they're the number 2 seed right now. You look at their remaining schedule. We thought that they could win out. We thought definitely they were going to beat the Carolina Panthers, but as 10-point favorites, they lost yesterday to the same Panthers team that the Niners annihilated on Monday Night Football. They will be on the road to play the Cardinals, the Rams will be, home against the Lions, on the road against the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football. That game's going to be huge. Week 17 on the road against the Falcons on Monday Night Football. Then the regular season finale, Week 18, against the Cardinals. The Eagles right now are the 3 seed on the road against the Chargers on Monday night this week. We'll see if Justin Herbert plays. He has a break in his non-throwing hand. Week 15 against the Raiders. The Commanders are a pesky team, and Philadelphia has to play them twice in 3 weeks. The Commanders would love to play the role of spoiler. And then in between that, the Eagles have to play the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk about the Seahawks here too, because they're right on the heels of the Rams. And I look at Seattle as a Super Bowl contender. And obviously in the NFC West, it's the Rams, Seahawks, and Niners all vying for that top spot. I told you before the year was going to come down to the wire. Seattle at Falcons, home against the Colts, Rams at home on Thursday night, on the road against the Panthers, on the road against the 49ers. So the number 1 seed completely alive for San Francisco, which is crazy to think about given everything they've had to deal with this year. Adversity and all of the injuries. Number 3, this is a positive sign. The Niners are moving into a positive direction as far as their health goes. Now, we'll see what happened with Kyle Juszczyk, questionable to return yesterday and did not return with that rib injury. But all of these players could return for San Francisco following the bye. Yetur Gross-Matos, he's really been injured for much of his 2 years with the Niners, but he was probably the most dynamic interior pass rusher for the Niners before his injury, and he was really good there. He could play defensive tackle, he could play defensive end. Eddie Pinheiro was 22 of 22 on his field goal attempts and makes prior to his hamstring injury, and the bye week comes at a good time for him to heal that up. Tatum Bethune, with that high ankle sprain, is going to come back after the bye at some point. Same can be said for Sam Okuwana with his high ankle sprain. And then Jacob Cowing has injured and re-injured his hamstring multiple times this year, but the plan is for him to potentially return after the bye, and he could give you a dynamic weapon at that wide receiver spot. I don't include Brandon Ayuk on here because I think it's chalked. I don't think he's going to play for the Niners again. Now, a lot more to get to here on today's show. Let's first pause and get to our sponsor. Today's 49ers Report brought to you by Prize Picks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in the game. Join the millions of users. Sign up today. It's the holiday season, the best time of year for sports. Bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. And while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right. That place? Prize Picks. New feature alert. Prize Picks now has early payouts. If your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out of those winnings before the game even finishes. Is your fantasy season already over? Your team might be cooked. But with Prize Picks, you don't have to wait until next year's draft. Prize Picks lets you play fantasy football every week, pick your favorite players, and win when they hit their projections every week. No draft required. Let's do a little 3-pick power play for Monday Night Football. Patriots-Giants, you might say, this isn't a great game. The Giants stink. Considering the history between these two teams, as Eli Manning and the Giants able to take down Tom Brady and the Patriots twice in the Super Bowl, bad blood between these two squads and these fan bases. Jackson Dart making his return. Let's go more than 177.5 passing yards. And then Travion Henderson, non-factor to start the year because he wasn't playing. He's been awesome the last couple of weeks with playing time. More than a half rushing or receiving touchdown, more than 84.5 rushing or receiving yards. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let's talk about the most important position here. A lot of good developments for the Niners coming out of that Browns win. Maybe the most important, I thought that Browns game for Brock Purdy was a very encouraging performance. And it was encouraging because of how he looked moving around, but also given his previous struggles of playing poorly in bad weather. It was windy, it was cold in Cleveland, and I thought that Purdy played well and made a couple of marquee plays. 16 of 29 on the day, 168 yards, 2 total touchdowns. The big thing, which obviously was a problem against Carolina, no turnovers, and a quarterback rating of 83.7. You might look at those numbers and say, Purdy didn't really do all that much. There were some really huge Purdy plays throughout the ballgame. 3rd and 10, late second quarter, he hits Ricky Pearsall on a nice ball for 13 yards. That was the drive before halftime, which led to the field goal to take a 10-8 lead at the break. 3rd and goal, Purdy on the read option, faked out the entire defense, ran it in for that score, did the Dougie. White boys got some moves. And then Purdy to Jawan Jennings was also on a 3rd down on that touchdown. And then to really get that field goal a reality, to get into position to kick that field goal before halftime, crunch time in the second quarter, that Purdy throw to George Kittle was a really nice toss. I know that Kittle made a nice adjustment, but Purdy gave him a chance. I also thought Purdy's mobility against the Browns was a huge storyline in that game. The Niners' offensive line did not play well. Oftentimes they don't against top-tier defensive lines in football, but it's a win when you only give up 1 sack to Myles Garrett. And while the Niners' offensive line gave up 15 pressures, it could have been a lot worse if it weren't for how Purdy moved around. And that's really encouraging as we progress here toward the stretch run of the season. Lastly, this young Niners defense is really improving. And I know that in this 3-game winning streak for the Niners, they haven't played great teams. The only team that they've beat who has an above 500 record. Carolina, I think they're a fluky team, even though they come back home and they take down the Rams. That's why the NFL is awesome. But I liked what I saw on the defensive side of the football for the Niners against Cleveland because of what we always haven't seen this season, especially since the Nick Bosa injury. First and foremost, what I hang my hat on defense, getting after the quarterback, pressuring the quarterback, sacking the quarterback, right? And I thought the Niners yesterday had Shedeur Sanders under wraps, under siege, and they consistently were able to collapse the pocket and get to Shedeur. Keion White led the charge with 4 pressures, 1 sack, and a pressure rate of 26.8%, rushing from defensive end and defensive tackle. I told you at the time I really liked that trade because he was a good scheme fit for the Niners, has good size, positional versatility. He's been even better than I anticipated. How about the play of Clelin Ferrell? 2 sacks yesterday. He has 3 sacks in his last 2 games. He was picked up off the scrap heap, signed to the practice squad. He's really given this team something, and he added 4 pressures. Bryce Huff, Jordan Elliott, Robert Beal, all with the pressure as well. This Niners defense in the last 2 games, against Carolina, against Cleveland, they've given up 17 points total. They've had 4 sacks, and they generated 3 turnovers, which to start the year and last year was a big problem. So my game balls go to Clelin Ferrell. What an addition he's been. Same can be said for Keion White. The Niners badly needed some players to step up along the defensive line. Those 2 have. George Kittle raved about Alfred Collins after the game. He said this guy continues to make plays, and I can't say enough about him. He's such a good football player, whether it's effort, whether it's strength, whether it's him just being a bruising body at 6'5", 330 pounds with length. You're seeing progress from a lot of the Niners' young players. That includes Alfred Collins. That includes Upton Stout, who I thought popped on a couple of occasions. Deommodore Lenoir was playing lockdown at that corner spot. Those are the game balls on defense. On offense, let me throw in Spencer Burford as a player who I thought played really well yesterday at that left guard spot. Thanks, everybody, for watching today's San Francisco 49ers Report. Your support means the most. And don't forget to give me a follow on all of my social media platforms because I'm putting additional Niners content on X, Instagram, and TikTok, the latter of which I just launched. So help me get those followers up over there.